Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Pain Points webinar series. My name is Josh Lockheed, training evangelist here at QuoteWerks, and hope everyone is having a great day today. With this Pain Point webinar series, our goal is to dive into common business challenges that companies face when creating, delivering, and closing quotes and proposals. And we know that your time is valuable, so these webinars are fairly short. We typically keep them under 30 minutes, and we want you to be able to apply these solutions right away. And we want these webinars to be quick and as efficient as your quoting process currently is if you're using QuoteWerks, or will be if you haven't started using QuoteWerks yet. Today's pain point topic is providing flexible payment options. I'm sure this is a big pain point for some of you out there where really you only have one or maybe two options for your customers, and it's a pretty rigid arrangement. Well, here at QuoteWerks, we have a number of different ways that you can provide flexible payment options to your customers, whether it's a new client or existing one. You ultimately want to make sure that they're able to make a payment as easily as possible, and QuoteWerks enables you to do that. And we'll talk about that as we go through this presentation. So with our Pain Point webinar series here, we typically have a standard agenda. What we'll do is we'll walk through the pain point around providing flexible payment options, not being able to do so. What does that cause for your business, or what pain might that cause for your business? We'll talk about the solution. So in this case, I believe we'll be reviewing three specific areas of the QuoteWerks software that will help you to alleviate the pain point of not being able to provide those flexible payment options. We'll then do a live demo and question and answer at the end if we need it, but I do welcome everyone to post questions as well as we continue through the presentation. So with that being said, we're in GoToMeeting. There is the questions box there on the upper right-hand corner of your window. If you have questions, type them in there. And this webinar itself will be recorded as well, so expect to see a recording in your mailbox within about 24 or 48 hours. So one other thing to mention here is we have our socials, so Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all the big ones there. We welcome you to follow us there as well, as we're always putting out new content, and would love for you to engage and talk with other users that are using the QuoteWerks software as well. So with all that being said, we're now going to get into the actual pain point that we're here to discuss, which again is providing flexible payment options. So let's suppose you send a quote to a customer or a proposal out to a customer. Great. Now what? How do your customer pays, or how does your customer pay? Is it a new client or existing client? Does that change the way in which you might want to provide options for them? Is there a convenience fee or maybe a discount that you might provide based on giving different options? Your customer is not able to provide different methods than the original one that was selected. So maybe in your existing way of doing things, a customer can pay via ACH, but if they pay via ACH one time, that has to be their payment method moving forward. There's a lot of different ways in which not being able to provide these options might cause some challenges. And one that we're going to talk about here today as well is also collecting deposits. So being able to set a standard deposit to be collected at the time of order placement, and also the ability to request additional payments, partial payments, and then giving you the ability to track those payments as well. Is something that we'll be able to do, but certainly a challenge if you're not able to do that on a regular basis. You can lose track of things pretty easily. So with that being said, the question is, how do we fix it? How do we make it less labor intensive for your customers and your company? Well, QuoteWerks does that in a number of ways, and one of those ways is by giving you the ability to customize the payment options that you provide to your customers. Now, in this case, we're talking about up to 7 different payment methods that can be provided, and there's really 2 different ways that we're talking about being able to provide these customizable payment options. One is to be able to just display it on a PDF quote as a potential option for payment. And the other one involves QuoteValet, where the customer can actually pay themselves using one of those different payment methods that you present to them, assuming that you have a different payment gateway or option that's been set up. So those 7 different payment methods range from credit card to ACH to wire transfer and PayPal, and you ultimately have the ability to decide how you get paid. And you can even add surcharges or discounts for different payment options as well. And you can also set them as defaults for the payment types that you want to accept. This way your team doesn't have to go and add or remove payment options on every document. You can just set the defaults and use them and modify them as necessary. You can also use templates with specific payment options as well for each type of template, so they don't all have to be the same. So a lot of flexibility there when it comes down to it. As I mentioned, QuoteValet is really useful for this, right? Though you can display the various payment options without it, again, within the PDF, the client can actually choose their payment method via QuoteValet and pay using that method. If you don't have QuoteValet right now, it is our online quote delivery and acceptance vehicle. We do offer demos and free trials, so if you haven't yet had an opportunity to get exposed to QuoteValet, which we'll cover a bit here in today's presentation, email sales@quoteworks.com or just send me a message in the chat or the questions box, and I can get you hooked up with our sales team. So that's solution one, is just in general being able to provide customizable payment options and multiple of them to your customers. The other option here is deposits. So often a deposit is all that's needed to move forward. So you may say, hey, we need X percentage of the document in order to start the project or order the equipment. This helps you get started on the project, but it's also beneficial on the customer because they don't have to pay in full until the project itself is complete. Now, this is obviously an option for you. You don't necessarily have to accept a deposit. You don't have to give them the ability to pay partial payments. You might want them to pay everything up front. Completely up to you. But this does give you that flexibility to have customers provide a down payment and then provide residual payments from there until they've given you the full payment amount. And you can customize your deposits to collect either a percent of document or based on the items being sold. And that can actually be really useful if, say, you're ordering equipment and delivering services, and you want to just be able to put the equipment order in. So you're just going to collect X percentage of whatever the equipment is in order to get that ordering process started. And then maybe later, once you're in the deployment phase and you're out there installing that equipment or providing services that are associated with that equipment, you can collect additional deposits. And this will make more sense when we demo it, but just knowing it's flexible is a pretty easy way to make you and your customers' payment process a lot easier. So that is deposits. And the third one that we'll be reviewing today is request payments. So as mentioned, you do have the ability to set deposits on a document, and actually setting a deposit on a document is the only way that you're going to be able to accept payment on a document via QuoteValet at least. We'll talk about that in a little bit here, but requesting payments is a great way to track and receive partial payments. So you can choose the amount that you want to get paid and provide flexibility for the client to pay regardless of when that might be. So you can, again, accept your initial payments, you can accept partial payments, and then you can even go in and request additional payments and even take payments by proxy if the customer calls in or communicates with you and pays via a method outside of QuoteValet. Now, this particular feature, requesting payments, is only available in QuoteValet, so you must have one of the different payment gateways set up. And we actually have integrations with over 80 different payment gateways, including Authorize.net, Intuit, QuickBooks Merchant Services, Chase, First Data, BNG, PayPal. We also give you the ability to accept ACH, e-check, wire transfers. We do also have leasing available as well, where you can utilize Great American Financial Services or a sample rate card. And then you can even provide couple custom payment options if, say, you want to give the customer the ability to pay for on terms. That might be an option that you provide to them as well. So that's all the different solutions that we have here for providing flexible payment options. There's 3 of them, and we're going to go ahead and review those in just a moment and do that in a live demo format. And what we're going to do here is we're going to show you how to set default payment options and deposits. We'll also show you how, even though you may have defaults set, you can customize those options on a quote-by-quote basis. We'll show you how to make requests for payments, and also change payment options. So we'll be reviewing a good amount here today. Like I said, we're going to try and keep this within the half hour or a little bit short of it, and we'll go from there. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the questions box and we'll get those answered as quickly as possible. So I have QuoteWerks Web open here today. Those of you that are using QuoteWerks Web, that's great. You're going to be able to follow along here perfectly. Those of you that use QuoteWerks Desktop, this process is very, very similar. There might just be a couple of different areas you might need to go in order to navigate to where we're going to be going. But all in all, everything is very similar. If anyone does want to see what I do here in QuoteWerks Desktop and we have time at the end, just let me know in the chat and I can certainly demo both of those environments. So here we are in QuoteWerks Web. I've got a quote created here for some data center networking. We've got some switches, some cabling, and then we've also got a service here that's included on the quote. So the first thing that I want to show you is how to set default payment options. And default payment options will be those that are going to apply site-wide and on every quote moving forward. So every quote that you use or create is going to use these options that we're setting at the global level. So the way that we would set default payment options is we would actually go over here to Setup, then Options, and there is a payment option here which we can select. Now when we select that payment option, it brings up the payment options or payment defaults window, and you can see it says New Document Payment Defaults. Again, that's because every time we're creating a new document moving forward from this point, after we hit OK and save our changes, it will have these options available there. Now currently you can see that I've got 3. Credit card purchase one is the one that's selected by default, and we have the ability to add, edit, or remove additional payment options here if we want. So I'll go ahead and just hit Add here so you can see that there are a number of different options that we have. In addition to the ones that are listed here, you can see that we actually already have check and credit card, as well as a custom payment type that's been set up as well. You have the ability to do e-check, PayPal, wire transfer, and there is one other custom payment type available for you here as well. So just to give you an idea of what one looks like when it's configured, I'm going to go in instead and hit on this purchase credit card option and hit edit. And we'll kind of go through this screen here. It's the edit payment options screen. We have a payment type that we can select, as I just showed you. We've got all the different options available here. And then we have the payment display text. The payment display text is what's actually going to be shown to the customer in regards to what that payment option is. So you can see over here on the left, it says purchase, and then alternative payments underneath, or credit card or check. That's going to be the payment display text. So instead of credit card, for example, you might want to put like Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and Discover, right? So you might want to go in there and change that. But for most people, credit card is perfectly acceptable, as it explains what payment we want to take. But you do have that flexibility to change that payment display text if you'd like. As I mentioned during the presentation there as well, you have the ability to add a charge or discount when a payment option is selected. So again, here we're working with a credit card. We can do no calculation, so that would just be a flat rate, no change or charge or discount there. We can do a percent charge. A percent charge would be a charge on the total amount of the quote that would be added as a surcharge for the payment. Let's say you want to encourage, let's say, e-check over a credit card because you can avoid the payment fees. You can even provide a percent discount. So that would be a discount off the total amount of the quote for whatever percentage amount that you want. And then you can also do a fixed charge, which would be a dollar amount that you put in there as to how much your surcharge would be. So, as a round example, if your credit card charges you $10 per transaction, and just making that number up there, you might want to just put $10 there, and that would be a fixed charge for customers to use the credit card payment option. And this is where you would set all of that up here. Another good option that we have is if you want to disable the payment option, if the payment is above a certain dollar amount. Another great consideration here, because if we've got a $15,000-$20,000 order coming in via credit card and you're getting charged 3%, you might not even want to display that as a charge to the customer, and you might not want to even pay that to the credit card company, but rather encourage your customer to use another option, or in this case, just totally not provide that option for them. So if I were to come in here and put in a number like 15,000, anything or any orders above $15,000, this particular payment option would not show. So I'm actually going to remove that and just make it so that it'll stay as is, but good to know that that's an option as well. And then setting selections as defaults is just going to set the selection so that it's able to be selected by the customer and included as your default document payment option. So we're going to go ahead and click that. And in this case, you can see that we've set this for the credit card to have a fixed charge of 3%. We're actually going to do percent charge of 3%. And I skipped over it, but also very important consideration is your charge that you're providing the customer taxable or non-taxable? And really that's going to be based on your option or wherever you are in the United States, and ultimately what your tax considerations may be. But you have the ability to mark it taxable or non-taxable, and that will be reflected in the totals. So that is how you would set up a payment option. And if you wanted to add a new one, as I mentioned before, you just hit the add button. If you wanted to remove one, you can just come here and hit remove, and it'll remove it from the list. Now you do have the ability to go here and make payment type display text and choose the payment type display text and map it to each of the different payment types. You just choose from the drop down menu and you go from there. Not a huge issue here, but it gives you the ability to just map the payment type to the display text so that it's clear when your customers are seeing what they're trying to do and what the options they have for them when it comes to making payments. Down here at the bottom below, we've got our different macros. So this is going to give you the ability to control how you display the purchase option on the printed output. So you can see here for purchase option display macro, we're going to have something that says the payment type, purchase amount, and then the amount of that purchase. And we could actually go in here and edit this if we wanted, just to show our customers different ways in which this would present. And I'll actually show you how this is displayed on the printed output, which will make it a lot easier for you to understand. But needless to say, you have these macros available to you, and you can change that for the payment option display macro, the payment type calculation display macro, and as the payment option recurring phase display macro as well. So you have a lot of customization that you can provide there. Now, just again to mention, when we make changes here, this is going to be site-wide for all users and all quotes moving forward. It's not going to affect any quotes that have already been provided. And in order for you to be able to collect payments in QuoteValet, you actually need to make sure that you have a deposit set. We're going to actually show you how to do that here in just a moment. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK to save the changes that we just made. And to set up a deposit or a default deposit, the way you would do that is you would go back to options. In this case, go to documents and general. Now this particular screen gives you a lot of flexibility to set up defaults for your documents moving forward. The one that I wanted to highlight today specifically is the deposit amount, which you can get to by clicking on this ellipsis button right next to deposit amount. If we click on the ellipsis button, you can see that right now we have it set up to provide a 50% deposit due at the time of order placement. Now we can change that, and there's a number of different options that we have. The first one is none. And again, if you're collecting payments via QuoteValet, you'd never want it to say none. You want it to do something, whether it's full amount, percent of document, fixed amount, whatever that may be. You want to have one of these selected, or else they won't have that option to pay. You can still collect payments via payment request or via proxy, but it won't give you that pay now button, which we'll show you how that is displayed to the customer once we get into actually delivering the document to the customer. So when it comes to deposit required, you have a couple different options. The first one is going to be the full amount, which is going to be, as it denotes, the full amount of the document. So if there is a particular deal or opportunity that you're working and you have to make sure that you accept all of the payment up front, you'd want to select that. Next would be percent of document, which in this case, again, we have it set to 50%. So that would be 50% payment at time of order placement. Also a fixed amount. So let's say you just needed a like $1,500 down payment in order to get the project moving. You can set that up here easily by putting in $1,500 for the fixed amount, and that can be whatever you want it to be. And those are pretty straightforward. Other options that you have here would be a percent of a line item in the document. This would be, let's say you wanted to make it where you're only, I mentioned it earlier, let's say you only wanted to collect a certain percentage of the product on the document. You could do that easily by saying, oh, I want 100% of the extended price of the item type of product, and I want to include sales tax. So what this is going to do is it's going to take all of the products on the document and make it so that the default deposit required is going to be whatever the hardware or the product line type, item type is set to. You could obviously change this to 50%, 75%, whatever you might want to do. But in this case, we're narrowing it down specifically to that one product line type or item type, excuse me. The other option that we have here is to add up multiple matching line items in a document. And this is where you can get really granular with it because just like percentage of line item in a document, you can select a number of different fields to add up here, whether it's the unit cost, extended cost. So that's a great example here. So let's say that you only wanted to collect the cost of your items. Obviously, this isn't going to be displayed to the customer and show you your cost, but let's say you would just wanted to collect whatever your cost is so you can get the items ordered. You would select unit cost, and then again, in the case where we're just collecting for product, we would say item type equals product, and then we would multiply that by whatever percentage we want. So in this case, if we wanted to collect all of the unit cost from the product item type, we would do 100%, and we have the ability to include sales tax in there as well. So not only do you have the ability to do that here for one item type, but you can choose multiple item types, and then you can also add that with other sections of the document. So there's a lot of flexibility that you have here in regards to determining what you want that to be. And down here at the bottom, we have include shipping amount in deposit required. So that's something that you have the ability to toggle on or off. And then in QuoteValet, allow customer to pay full amount remaining balance at any time. That is a great option as it gives the customer to opt to forego the deposit and pay more at any time that they want, or pay the full remaining balance at any time. So I would say a good practice is to keep that checked, but you have flexibility to change it if you'd like. So I had this set previously to percent of document, so that means that 50% deposit required on all default quotes, and I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. That saves our default there. So again, moving forward, we're going to have a deposit required that's going to be 50%. And if we go back to our payment options, the payment options that are going to be displayed by default are going to be these three here. And that's going to be on every new quote moving forward. Now I happen to have a quote here that's already open. And there's a couple different ways that we can do things here. Let's say that you have that deposit required set to 50%, which you can see that it is here on this quote. Deposit required $31.97.80. That's 50% of our total over here on the right. Again, this has been set by default, but if we wanted, we can come and change that individually on this quote and choose to do whatever option we want here. Again, if we're accepting payment in QuoteValet, we need to accept that, or we need to ensure that at least one of these options is selected, or else the Pay Now button won't display. So this is how you would change that on the fly here if you wanted. And the other option is if we wanted to come and go into our sale info tab, this is where you can come in and adjust the payment options as well. One that's selected is going to be the one that's defaulted on the document. And then you can see here that we can add, edit, or remove those as well, and even add leasing options from this screen. So a lot of different options here. Now you will see here as well that our surcharges are applied. So I've got a 3% surcharge applied to the credit card and a 3% discount applied to e-check or to check. So those are other options that you have here as well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and quickly deliver this out to the customer just so you can kind of see what those payment options are going to look like. And we're going to start by looking at the PDF delivery. Now, again, PDF delivery will display the payment options, but it's not going to provide you the same flexibility as if you were using QuoteValet. So you can see we've got our quote here, and down here at the bottom, we've got select your preferred payment option, and then it has all the different options. And this is going to be one of those payment display text macros that we looked at. So this is how you can control what it says, right? So the payment type, purchase amount, and then the macro of the amount itself as well is what we looked at over there. And then you can see the surcharge, purchase amount, and then we have the includes the amount, payment type is surcharge here as well. So in this case, what you would have the customer do if you're delivering via PDF is just check one of those options, sign it off to you, and send it back with whatever payment they have available to them. Now, preferably, you would be using QuoteValet because QuoteValet is going to give you a lot more flexibility. And what we're going to do here is we're going to deliver it via QuoteValet now. I'm going to go upload to QuoteValet instead of preview print. And I'm going to just quickly turn off the reminder options here because I don't want that to remind me. And then we have the upload to QuoteValet, which we're going to do. And we're going to go ahead and preview this on QuoteValet. So what we've got here is our QuoteValet webpage. We can see all of our products. And instead of just having a checkbox like we did before, you can see that our payment options are listed here. And we do have our deposit payment here listed, which is going to be the $31.97.80 with the surcharge being added here for our credit card or the discount being added for our check purchase. So this is how it's going to display to the customer. We're going to go ahead and select credit card purchase here. We're going to agree to the terms and conditions. We're going to go ahead and sign and click to accept. Now this is where the make a payment page is going to become available to us. It says thank you for accepting the quote, and the customer can click pay now to actually go ahead and use the payment methods. Now, as you can see here, they can do the full deposit amount, which would be their payment here, or they can pay the amount in full as well. And you can give them the ability to make partial payments as well if you'd like. And each of these options are still selectable. So even if the customer, it's selected on the previous page, let's say check, they can still come in here and let's say when it gets to the accounting department, they're like, oh, wait, we actually need to use a different method. They can choose that and then pay in that way. So that is great there. One last thing that I want to show you here is that once the customer has accepted the quote on QuoteValet, we're going to be notified, and it's going to give us the ability to convert it to an order. And on this QuoteValet tab, there's a number of different things that we can do. First off, we can make a payment by proxy. I talked about this earlier. So if we wanted, we can come in and add, let's say, a first installment payment. Let's say they call your team on the phone and they give you a credit card. You're just going to select credit card, the Visa. We'll just put in there as default. The proxy payment reference would say first payment maybe. And then the amount received we would put in here. And if we do that, you can see that we can it does activate the surcharge and discounts. So you can see why that's a different amount. And if we hit OK, you can see here that it updates and shows that we've received a payment by proxy. It's put it here. It shows us the total payments received as well as the payment balance remaining as well. And at any time as well, if you want, you can request payment. And what you can do here is, let's say this is a second installment, say another $1,000. We can send this out to the customer as a payment page for just the amount that we put in there. So this would be how you could request payment from a customer after the initial deposit's been made and request payment for, let's say, a phase in the project. And again, they have the ability to choose all the different options there. So that is a really good overview of the different payment options that are available to you and the flexibility that's afforded to you by using QuoteWerks and, as we've discussed, QuoteValet specifically. I haven't seen any questions come in, but in the last couple of minutes here, if you want to submit any questions, feel free to. But while I wait, what I just want to point out here is that we've got a lot of different resources available to you. One of the best resources that you have available to you here at QuoteWerks are the people. That's why I put the number for both our support and sales team as well as email for them as well. They are definitely very happy to help with anything that you might want to do, whether it's adding licenses, getting a trial spun up, or just trying to figure out how to do something in the software. And then we have these live recorded webinars almost on a weekly basis. Love to see you on future ones. Of course, we've got our help files, videos, so on and so forth. So feel free to check out our resources here. Feel free to check out the different flexible payment options that is afforded to you via QuoteWerks. And I welcome any of you that may not already be using the QuoteWerks software to give us a call. Number's right up there, 407-248-1481. Talk to our sales team. Again, very accommodating, can provide demos and or free trials if that's something that you would like to take advantage of. So again, thank you everyone for your time. Really appreciate you joining today, and I hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day.